Hi, I'm Megan Rodriguez with the Eagle newspaper, joined today on Thursday, November 5th by Councilman Bob Brick. He's the incumbent of a race for College Station City Council Place 1 against Jason Cornelius. On Tuesday, it was announced with the unofficial results that Bob Brick is leading with about 6 votes. And next week on Tuesday, November 10th, we are going to have the winner determined when absentee, military, and provisional ballots are counted. So Councilman Brick, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's a pleasure to visit with you again and see if we can figure out and unravel all this mess.
Sir. Well, I know, like you said, we've talked a little bit on Tuesday night right after the results came in. And so now that you've had a little bit more time to kind of digest, I wanted to see if you could just open up our discussion by talking a little bit about what it was like to see the race come this close, because I believe I remember you saying that you didn't necessarily expect it to be quite this tight.
I certainly did not expect it to be this tight. I thought it would be close, but I felt confident in winning. I'm surprised that it's this close, but I haven't seen a race that certainly this is my second time to go through the election process for myself, and I certainly have not seen anything this close before. So it's quite a unique experience. I do understand that there was a previous councilman, Bob Runnels, quite a few years ago, who won his seat on city council by 7 seats. So I'm in that category, I suppose.
Yes, sir. It's interesting that you bring that up. I had actually got some information from the city earlier today, kind of talking about kind of the tightest races that we've seen. And that was one of them that they mentioned being kind of, it's been a while since we've had something that comes this tight. And I believe that one of the tightest was back in 1980 is what they had said, about an 8-vote margin. And then in the 70s, there was a 15-vote margin. And then in the closest vote that we've had in the last decade was actually 77-vote margin back in 2010. And so it's kind of neat to see it happening again now, but interesting to see how, if y'all break this, those top 4 results and of tightest races.
It would be interesting to be able to interview people who voted for Mr. Cornelius and myself, to just see what was it on their minds that led them to vote for one or the other of us, and to see them so incredibly evenly divided. There's approximately 30,000 votes for the total of the 2 of us, and the last accounting that I saw had me at 50.01% and Cornelius at 49.99%. So that's cutting it pretty thin.
Yes, sir. And that's actually what I was going to ask you next, is just kind of, are there any factors that you think that you might have led to this race being so evenly split?
Well, I'm not sure. Certainly, Mr. Cornelius being an African American, and there not being any African Americans on the council up to this point, could have been a factor in some people voting in his favor. I don't know that, but I suspect that people viewed us as representing different elements of the town and different interests in the town, and that's what led them to vote one way or the other. I was supported by the organization of College Station neighborhoods, and I've been an advocate for long-standing advocate of strong neighborhoods and giving neighborhoods the opportunity to vote in ways that would strengthen themselves. And some people would have voted for me on that basis, I assume. And others might have not voted for me, perhaps because of that, if they were absentee landlords who feel that strengthening the neighborhoods is in some fashion detrimental to their interests, although I don't see it that way, but perhaps some could see it that way. I don't really know. There are lots of issues floating around town these days, and I just think it would be interesting to know more particularly who voted for either of us for whatever reasons.
Absolutely. And kind of now that we're a couple of days after the election, just kind of how are you feeling, and kind of what is your plan and how to deal with and kind of just deal with this waiting period now until we get to Tuesday?
Well, the waiting period is tedious, that's for sure, for all of us. But I'm sure that relief is one of the elements, one of the feelings that I sense right now. Uh, by the time the election came, I think we were all just ready to have it over and behind us. And it's certainly good to have all that behind us. Although it was interesting going out and visiting with people around town, and I walked lots of neighborhoods, house to house, and talked to people along the way, and that I found that to be quite interesting. But it was tiring at the same time.
Mm.
So I look forward to getting on beyond this, and hopefully getting on into the business of helping the city do its business, and following up on some of the campaign issues that I was able to address. One of them was citizen engagement, improved citizen engagement, and the proposed forthcoming program called Business at Breakfast, to invite the small business owners to come in for conversations with city staff over perhaps coffee and donuts in the morning. And I think that'll be a good thing to get started. We could have used that a long time ago, but it's good to have it underway at this time. That, I think, will get started perhaps later this month with the first of those sessions. And that's patterned on the program that was established already, in which the local builders, home builders and developers would come in once a month and sit around the room and have coffee and donuts and discuss issues that were of concern to them with the city's planning and development staff. And council members and other staff members were invited to attend that, which I always did. And so that was a good medium for exchange. And I hope that the forthcoming small business conversation group will also be in that same vein.
Absolutely, yes, sir. And
Before COVID came to town, the city had embarked upon a new program called Community Conversations, and there had been several of those meetings, and they were, I thought, also useful for bringing citizens and the government officials together to discuss issues that are concerned in both directions. So all those are things that I look forward to participating in as we get down the road.
definitely, yeah. I actually got a chance to speak with the Brazos County Elections Commission administrator earlier today, Trudy Hancock, and kind of ask a little bit about kind of how recounting votes works and things like that. And she mentioned that if there's an exact tie, that it will trigger an automatic recount, and otherwise the person with fewer votes would be able to, if it's within a certain percentage mark, be able to request a recount, and if they pay for it themselves. If you come out behind in this race on Tuesday, is that something that you might file for a recount?
I hadn't really thought that far. I hadn't looked. I had thought that there might be the possibility of a recount one way or another, but I hadn't looked beyond just casually thinking about it. I hadn't thought specifically about the mechanism involved or how you go about getting it started and what the costs are and all that sort of thing. I'd have to think about that to see how I want to go. But certainly an exact tie is a possibility, because I understand from the city secretary that there are at least a few hundred outstanding ballots that haven't come in yet, either provisional ballots or absentee ballots. And so we may see several changes yet. It may go back and forth several times before we end up finding the final tally.
Yes, sir. And kind of, you've touched on this, or you started to get into this a little bit ago, and just kind of to delve a little further into it. If you are to win, looking ahead, if you do end up winning, I guess what's something that you're most looking forward to about a second term? And on the other end of it, if you were to lose, kind of what are your next steps? Do you see yourself seeking a council position again in the future, or engaging in other interests within the community?
Oh, if I were to win, I look forward to being engaged in a broad array of different topics. I mentioned community engagement. working to strengthen and support and help neighborhoods achieve stability. Another element that I would like to be able to support is seeing that the city operates on a very sound financial basis, which in my view is a significant way of attracting businesses to the community. We need business development, and businesses are more attracted to a stable community rather than one that looks like it's teetering on some kind of brink of bankruptcy, as some towns unfortunately are during this pandemic that we're having right now. But right now, I believe our city's in pretty good financial condition. Another thing with respect to the city's finances, I plan to work for, whether I'm reelected or not, I will continue to work for diversifying the local economy such that we have additional sources of revenue from new areas that we are not exploiting at this time, or at least we're not exploiting to the extent that we might be able to. I've mentioned during the campaign, one of these is called nature tourism. I think that our Lick Creek Park is a prime opportunity for us to develop a bird watching kind of industry here. Many cities across Texas are reaping millions of dollars in tourist revenue by developing their facilities and opportunities for local citizens as well as out-of-town visitors to come and do bird watching in their area. Texas is the primary bird watching state in the country, and many towns are deriving lots of revenue from that, and we're not really exploiting that opportunity to the extent that we might be able to. So I want to work for that. Another opportunity for tourist development is supporting and encouraging the rapid development of the new museum that's proposed for Veterans Park, the Military Heritage Museum, which will house, as a starter, the Aggies Go to War exhibit that was first presented in Belgium to commemorate the Battle of the Bulge. And I think that'll be a remarkably wonderful museum once we get that established at Veterans Park. And that will also be, like the Bush Museum and our other museums around town, that'll be a draw for out-of-town guests to come in, as well as something to improve and enhance the quality of life for our own citizens here. And that was another element of my campaign. The slogan of the city council is to advance and promote the quality of life for our citizens. And I certainly have had that as a theme throughout the various pieces of my campaign and through my service on the council. So local museums and local tourism opportunities provide an opportunity to enhance our local community of life, our quality of life, as well as to attract business to come in and help us to finance the things we want to do around here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And I think whether I am reelected or not, I will follow up on those interests and see if I can help support those.
Definitely. And that reaches the end of the main things that I wanted to ask you about today. Is there anything that I didn't address today that you want to make sure to mention?
Well, I'm just ever so grateful for the many folks around town and the organizations who have supported me. The CSAN organization, the Committee of Former Mayors, colleagues of mine from A&M and Glenn College, and folks around town who've seen statements that I've made that they like to support. I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's come out to support me in this campaign, and wish us well.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much again for taking the time to speak with me, and looking forward to seeing kind of how everything turns out. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks again for the conversation. I look forward to visiting with you again one day.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.